Hello and welcome to the next edition of the Cast podcast. I am very excited today to bring you my friend Jojo Draven. Jojo is a fantastic guitarist and film composer, and we're going to talk to her about her time with the Blue Man Group, as well as the set list, when she performed on tour with Criss and some of her films. We're also going to be playing you some music from her different films that she sent over to us. And each piece is just a treat, especially as a film composer, where you get to sort of dissect what she's done a little bit. And she's one of those people that I really enjoy listening to her work, whether it's with or without the film. And seeing her play live is a whole nother thing. So we're going to be talking to her and playing some tracks from her. Very excited about that. In the meantime, we are creeping up on Christmas. Hard to believe that. Growing up in a place like Michigan where it used to snow every year, sometimes it would snow before Halloween, sometimes it would snow after Halloween, which is what we always hoped for because we didn't want anything to ruin our trick-or-treating. But it's weird living out in the desert now because it never quite feels like Christmas, at least what my memories of Christmas are. So I think I talked about that a little bit on the episode I did where I talked about my Mental Sauna Christmas Inflections album. But yeah, even now as we get closer to it, I kind of feel even more so that it does and it doesn't all at the same time. It's also too bright. That just dawned on me. When you live in a place where it's overcast and there's snow on the ground, it's kind of dim and gray. And here, living in the desert with the palm trees and the blue skies and everything, even if it was overcast, it would still be too bright to be Christmas. Anyway, just some observation from me for people who used to live back in the East Coast. And I guess even now in some areas of the East Coast, it's not quite what it was. I know in Michigan, the snow, there's actually plenty of times where you can see the grass during the year now where I grew up. So it's quite different even there now. So there really is no going back home. And that's okay because I really don't like to travel. So this first piece of music that I'm going to play is from the 2017 Shriekfest teaser trailer. And Jojo did the music for that. It's quite perfect. I'll put the link to the video in the show notes, but I can honestly say that the music matches the video very well. But for now, just enjoy the music on its own and then watch it with the video afterwards. And here it is. And that was the music from the Shriekfest 2017 trailer written by Jojo Draven, who we're going to bring on the show now. Jojo, welcome to the Cast podcast. How are you today?
Hey, Scott. I'm great. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. I appreciate you hanging in there with the different scheduling issues and everything that we've had trying to get this together. But I'm definitely grateful that you were able to make some time. So thank you very much.
Thank you. This will be fun.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Let's start with the music that I just played and talk about that a little bit. The Shriekfest 2007 trailer music. I really love this because it's just got such a nice, pulsing, creepy build to it, but it's not in your face like a lot of trailer music is. It doesn't drive it. It just moves it along very nicely. Was that your strategy going in, or did you want some shock value in there?
Well, the way that trailer came about is that Denise, the director of Shriekfest last year, 2017, she was looking for somebody to make the music for the trailer. And the way the trailer works is that it's a bunch of their finalists, semi-finalists, filmmakers. They submitted their films, and the semi-finalists and the finalists, they get included in the trailer. So, and then supposedly they were going to give me this finished, edited trailer to me so I can put music to it. Mm-hmm. But as it turned out, I didn't get that.
Oh.
And I only had a certain amount of time to create the music. So I started creating the music thinking, okay, I know there's not going to be any narration in the trailer, and that the trailer will have to build, and the music will have to carry the trailer along and bring it to the end. And since I have experience in trailer editing and everything, I know how an editor would think and how they would want to build a trailer and how they would want the music to help the trailer along. So with that in mind, I created music blindly with no vision at all. There's no video, so to speak. And at the very last minute, I got the video, so I was able to put the music to the video and adjust some of the build-up, some of the sections, the first section, the middle section, and then the climax section. So with that in mind, that's how the music came about. I guess I just, start with like a mellow, creepy music, and then it builds slowly from there.
Sure, but without knowing how long the video was going to be, that must have been a challenge to figure out how long you wanted each section to go.
Right, exactly. So I think a trailer usually is 1 minute to 3 minutes, which for a trailer 3 minutes is a little long. But in this case, because they showcase finalists, semi-finalist clips. I knew that it was probably going to be on the long side. Mm-hmm. So I just created certain section that way, and then I adjusted accordingly when I got the video.
Right. And then you were able to add those end shots in with the titles, because those you nailed like perfectly on time.
Right. See, it is kind of fun in a way. After the creation process is completed, then when you get the picture, it's almost like music editing. But at the same time, you have the stems so you can adjust. Okay, the drums, you want to go this way. You want to go from 4/4 time signature to now it's 7/8 because that's how it'll fit the picture. So it's the fun part. Yeah, mm-hmm. The creation part is the harder part because then you have to think about where do I start? How do I want this to sound? So, but that was fun. That trailer.
Yeah, and it came out great. We're going to have the link posted in the show notes so that people can see the visual with it as well after hearing the audio. Because I always think that's kind of fun. You hear the audio, there's a visual to it, but to just appreciate the audio on its own and then to see how it was synced up to the video action is kind of a nice progression. But do you do what I do when you get a new film to work on and you watch the film, and when you're with the director or you're doing the spotting session, you're thinking, okay, yeah, I've got some ideas, I feel pretty good, and then you get home and you watch the film and go, I don't know what to do with this. I've lost all my ideas. Like they shouldn't have hired me for this.
Yeah, that happens quite a few times. You just have to just not be attached to your own ideas, and you have to adjust with your own mind real quickly. So you're like, okay, I'm open to this. Okay, I hear something different now that I see the picture, mm-hmm. And you just have to just let go of all the other, music that you thought you had in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to start from scratch. Yeah.
Well, the first thing is dropping our ego, right? So that we're not like, nope, the idea I had was right, and that's all there is to it. Like, if your idea has changed, if you've developed something better, or you feel the film differently after seeing it 3 or 4 times, we have to be able to let go and realize that what's most important is the final product. And it's not about what we think is best, it's what we feel right now, what we're going to write with. You know, when you're choosing your colors and all that, that's what matters in that moment. Do you find that you can pretty much let go of an idea if you find something better, or do you kind of hold that idea back for maybe another project?
I usually just, I don't ever get too attached, because even when you think that you nailed a scene and you think it's good, when you show it to the director or producer, they can totally scrap it, you know, just completely. And you will have to not be attached. You just can't, because then you have to start over. You know, you can't even salvage, I want to salvage that part, or, you know, or just the, you know, maybe the violin track I'll keep, but everything else I change, you know. No, sometimes you just have to grab it all and, you know, start again.
That makes the spotting sessions, the second spotting session with the director, much easier if you're able to just say, okay, here's what I created. What do you think? You like this? You don't like that? Okay, I'll go back and do something else, versus, but I love that piece. I spent 2 days on that. You know, if you can really be unattached.
Yeah,
that's...
never say that to a producer or a director. You will not be called back for the next job.
No, not at all. So I really like that piece. I think it fit well. And let's go ahead and play another piece. Now, this piece is another trailer, and this is for The 3 Bears and the Perfect Gift. What can you tell us about this one?
Okay, so this film was shot 2018, so just a few months ago, and you know, they wanted turnaround real quickly, because they want to make the film, you know, gain a lot of interest for Christmas release, because it's a Christmas movie, it's a family film. And this is actually my first family film that I scored, because for the past, you know, many years, I've you know, scored horror movies mainly. Mm-hmm. So this was a great challenge for me, and you know, it was a lot of fun. The project was a lot of fun. I you know, I loved doing the project, and when the trailer came about, they wanted a, you know, they wanted finished really fast, because they wanted to get it out there to make the sale. Mm-hmm. So I only had a very short amount of time to do this. I think I do this in 1 day.
Wow. It's very well layered. It has a really nice warmth to it. It's not over the top intricate. It just moves along very nicely. So that's a great piece to come out with in that short of a time frame.
Yeah, it's crazy. Usually I would have an idea floating around in my head. Okay, I want the melody to go this way. But this one, I just have to, you know, I sit down and I start hearing things. You know, I see the pictures a few times, and I started hearing, and I'm like, I just have to dive in and do it really fast, you know. And then I think the following day I was able to mix it and then actually send it along. And luckily the director really loved it. And you know, and I thought, well, they will cut a new trailer. So this was just a teaser. This is a teaser trailer. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought that maybe there will be another trailer that I would have to, you know, put music to. So. Right. So I finished this real quick, and luckily they're happy with it. And I use, you know, more of a, you know, a lot of different instrumentation, you know, for orchestra and everything. Mm. So yeah, it's fun. It's definitely a departure from, you know, writing a trailer music for a horror film.
Well, let's go ahead and play that piece so everyone can hear it right now. Okay, so that was the Three Bears and the Perfect Gift teaser trailer by Jojo Draven, who is our guest today. And now, since you normally work on a lot more dark and horror music, especially given the time constraint you had on this one, was it a challenge to find the kind of tone and sounds that you wanted to create this, or did you still have that kind of readily available?
Well, believe it or not, I don't know. To me, working on the score for this film came way more naturally than working on a horror film.
Really?
It's funny to say because for years I worked on horror films, but I'm classically trained. I have a background in classical music because I started on classical piano. So maybe that is the reason why this came rather naturally to me to compose, music for this film, because it taps into my classical background. As we know, classical music is very melodically very complex and
sure.
And it's I don't know. I just had a lot of fun with this one. It's very, very fun to put the flute and the xylophones, vibraphones, and just including all these, classical instruments,
And to have a piece of music where you don't have to use like a water harp or a bowed cymbal or something to kind of bring out some darkness must have been a nice change of pace too.
Right, exactly. I used the usual strings and woodwinds and a little bit of brass and the orchestration. So that's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, and it's mixed very nicely too. Did you do the mix on that?
I do. In the word of Stuart Copeland, I like to quote him. He always says he hires the cheapest sound mixer in the world. My goddamn self. With these kinds of projects, usually I don't have very much time, and to involve somebody else to do the mix with anything like that. It sometimes it's more complicated.
Yeah.
And I've tried to work with other people before, and a lot of times it doesn't really work out very well because usually the other person's either becomes a flake or just does not deliver on time and things like that. I haven't found the right team for me, so that
I'm with you.
That's a challenge to put together a team. It's a big challenge.
Well, that's something I have a real issue with because it shouldn't be. If people they're honest and they're good at communication, it should never be a problem, but it seems to be. I've tried to work with a lot of different people on collaborations, and everybody's really excited when you're first talking about it. Oh, thank you for thinking of me, and I'm so honored. But they don't deliver. They don't communicate if they can't meet a deadline. And sometimes they just disappear or forget about it altogether. And I find collaboration to be a very frustrating thing. And I wish we could go back to the days of friends that just helped each other out because they cared and they were, respected the project or respected the time frames. And I just think it's a shame that, but you can't even get people to help you move without buying them dinner and beer and whatever, it's like nobody just does anything out of decency anymore.
Right, exactly. Yes. I hear you. That's definitely true.
So yeah, I don't blame you, but the mix came out great. You did a fine job on that.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you kind of a little bit, and we're going to come back to some of your film stuff in a bit, but you also have a lot of stage experience. You're a fantastic guitarist. I've gotten to see you perform in a couple of different venues, and it seems like no matter what you're doing, you play with passion. You're not playing the notes, you're playing the song. Like I can really feel the notes. And that's something that I don't hear from a lot of guitar players anymore. What do you think is the difference in, is it that people kind of are just playing the notes they're supposed to play and they don't know how to feel it, or they're afraid to, or they just think it's not what people want to hear?
Well, thank you for the kind words, first of all.
Sure.
It's nice to hear, but I really don't know. I can't speak for other people, but to me, I try to get in the zone. You know, I know it sounds very cliche, but when I play, if I'm not in the zone, I wouldn't be able to concentrate too much, and then I will lose that feeling of, you know, why I'm playing these notes to begin with, you know?
Sure.
And I take everything I do to heart, and maybe to a flaw.
Right.
But it's, I don't know, I think it's part of playing. You know, playing live is not easy for you know, for me at least. I know I speak for myself, but you know, there's you know, you have to really think about what I have to really think about what I do. Like, you know, I can't be in a bad mood and try to play.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know, or yeah, you know, because then it would come out differently for sure, you know. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can really answer that one.
That's interesting, because you always seem so confident. I mean, no matter what kind of venue I've seen you perform in or I've seen video of, you just always seem like you're in your zone, you're doing your thing, and it's very relaxed. It almost, I don't want to say that you make it look easy, but you certainly don't make it look tough. You know, it doesn't look like you're straining to do what you do. It just seems like you're just doing it in your zone very naturally and organically. And that's a joy. But do you get nervous still in front of crowds?
No, I don't actually. That's the one thing that I don't get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I just I don't know. I guess I did really well.
Yeah. Well, you know, obviously, you know, I just saw you. What was it? A week ago Friday, playing with a band called The Set List. And every quarter or so, you guys come out and you do a different classic album. And you guys have done some fun stuff. But now you're doing these Battle of the Bands kind of things, where you're playing songs from two different bands and having the audience vote on which one's better. Can't really say I understand that personally. I thought the whole thing was a little bit weird, but what came out of it was some incredible music, a lot of great performers, some really incredible singers. But what I loved the most about it was the unity. You know, you and Vincent on drums just seemed very much in sync with each other. The singers just supporting each other, and everybody kind of jumping in and singing backups on the different songs, the difference of arrangements, everything. It was just a good time. Is that something that, do you guys really rehearse that a lot, or is it something that you just kind of say, hey, we're all professionals, here's how we're going to do it, rehearse once or twice, and then go do the show?
Yeah, and we actually don't rehearse except for maybe once or twice, but that's it. And some of the singers, they don't even come to rehearse sometimes. Wow. They just show up on stage and they just sing with us. But as far as me and Vincent, you know, we've known each other for a long time. You know, we played together in Blue Man for a number of years, and you know, with other Blue Man musicians, you know, I just get so in sync with them that we don't even say anything to each other on time, you know, most of the time, and we just kind of hear each other or just look at each other, and we're all in sync with each other. Mm-hmm. So it's you know, it's a joy to play with those people. So that you know, that helps a lot when you play in a band and you're in sync with each other. It makes it so much easier, you know.
So how does it come off so good if you guys don't really get to rehearse? I mean, I understand the sort of camaraderie between you and Vince, and it's very apparent, because I saw you guys in Blue Man as well, and it was the same thing. But when you have people that don't show up to the rehearsal, and I mean, with a cast of that many, I don't know how everyone would, but it just comes off so flawless. Like, even when the arrangements are different, people just know where to be.
It's all about preparation. You know, each individual has to prepare very well, and they have to come in prepared, because there's nobody is, if one person is not prepared, especially the person, playing the band, that would cripple the whole project, But if everybody comes in prepared, they know their part, and then we can just talk about arrangement, and boom, things would come together very easily.
Right.
I mean, everybody is everybody's a professional, everybody's very well qualified musicians, and everybody's easy to work with, and I think that's key to projects like these. You come in, you know your part, you're well prepared, and then you just play together, and it's a very highly enjoyable experience that way. Nothing is worse than coming into a situation like that, and then one person's not prepared, or one person doesn't know their part, and or the other person has a big ego and they're louder than everybody else. That's not a good fun. That's not very enjoyable to play with somebody like that.
Well, and I have to say, enough for the people that obviously don't live here and haven't seen it, all the people that are in this band are people that are either currently performing or have previously performed in some of the shows around Vegas. So they're very used to the high level of expectancy and the professionalism that's required to do these kind of things. So you're working with people that are of that caliber. But more importantly to me, it seemed like everyone was just having fun up there. Like it wasn't really a battle of the bands. It wasn't a competition at all. There was a little bit of playful banter, but it was really more like it was a bunch of friends playing some songs that they enjoyed, just having a good time. And I think that's the key to what really makes something like that work. Because if people are coming up and they're kind of like, have a grumpy look on their face, or they just stand there and sing their part and they walk away and don't interact with everyone else, that really comes off as forced to the audience, where this was it was like you guys were having a party and we were just watching.
Yeah, definitely. That's the genius that Andy Wright is. He's the one that put these things together, and as he calls it, it's part concert, part roast at the same time. Everybody, most everybody on stage know each other from being professional working musicians and actors around town. And, their banters on stage there aren't really real, they're just roasting each other. It's all done in good fun,
Yeah.
So, but that's what it's about. I mean, you put a show together, it's about entertaining people. Mm-hmm. People want to come and see the show and have fun, and I think those shows, work well.
Yeah.
In that capacity.
I would definitely agree. And I think about bands like, I saw Michael Schenker at the House of Blues earlier this year, and he had brought all the singers that he had in the band back. And they were like one singer, whoever was singing that song in the studio, would come up and sing, and then the other guys would walk out and back him up. And then a different singer would come out for a different song, and everybody would come out and back him up. But what was great about the show was not just seeing all the original singers, it was that they really supported each other. It wasn't, well, you were in the band when I should have been, and there didn't feel like any kind of conflict. It was everybody wanted to be there and to back each other up, and it was just a good time. And that comes off so much better than, remember a friend of mine went and saw Queensryche on a tour, I think 2 tours after Operation Mindcrime, and he said they wouldn't even look at each other or acknowledge each other on stage. I think when you have that kind of camaraderie, the audience feels that, and it just makes the show 10 times better. The music is going to be good. That's probably going to happen. But that kind of show, that's the difference between it being something you go see in an actual show, is that kind of thing. Even though that you're isolated on one side of the stage as a guitar player, and sometimes people would come over and interact with you, do you feel like you're a part of the whole thing, or do you just say, I this is my role and I'm on my part of the stage doing what I do?
Well, actually, for me, the fun lies in, being able to make the connection with all these other people that, you're performing with. Mm-hmm. And that's how you can create good performance, and, you produce good music on stage, and people can hear that, what you do together, you're doing it together with all these other people. I mean, playing in a band, if you only care about what you do, that, it's fine and everything. It probably works just, as well. But at the same time, it's kind of not what playing a band is about. When you play in a band, you have to hear everybody else because you already spend a lot of time, preparing your part, so you know what you sound like. When you play on stage, you have to listen to everybody else.
Right.
Just put your own sound in the back of your mind. It's there. You know it's there. You play it under your fingers. But part of the fun is to listen to, okay, now here's the drum part coming, here's the bass part, or let's listen to the singer right now, That's, and then you make eye contact with the people that you play with on stage, and, and then, of course, the hang before and after, it's always fun. But that's how these things are fun for me.
I think you're right, though. I think that, you may be able to get away with just focusing on yourself, but I think that that's really only going to last in a band for so long. When you come back from the tour and you go back to writing the next album, if you're only thinking about yourself, you can't really write with everyone else. And I think that it's probably going to bite the dust fairly soon after that if you don't have that camaraderie.
Yeah. Totally.
So I was trying to think last night of exactly how it came about that you and I met. And I remember, I think it was when I was living in LA, and I think somebody had posted something or commented on a post of yours, and I thought, oh, that sounds like an interesting project. And I followed it to your SoundCloud link, and I really liked the music that I heard. And if I remember right, that would have been the movie Real Evil, REEL, Evil. Would that be possible?
Could be, yes. It could be. Wow, that's a while back now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Right. And then you and I met, and then, of course, once I moved to Vegas, we had connected in person when I came to see you guys at Blue Man Group. But the first film that I saw you score was Patient 7. And I absolutely love the score that you did for this, because there weren't a lot of parts that were really designed for shock value. It was really more a score that moved the film along. And I really like that. You have this beautiful way of just creating these melodic rhythms that just keep the thing moving forward. And I really love that about your style. Is that something that just kind of comes natural to you, or that you fell into doing?
I think so. I think I love percussion. Anything. That's my favorite thing. Is percussion. Just everything rhythmic, everything percussive, everything rhythmic. I love. I think it might be because I grew up in a place like Indonesia, where there's a lot of street instruments, or just people banging on anything they can bang on just to create sound, and I love that, I love that. I love that aspect of music, just, create rhythm, just banging on anything. I used to do that in school, in high school. People used to look at me like, "Can you be quiet?" Because I'd be banging on the table or something, making a rhythm.
Right.
I've always loved that. That's why one of my favorite genre of music is industrial music. I just love that. I listen to a lot of German bands, industrial German bands. That's, I love the percussive part of it. Everything is very rhythmic and that's I love that. And that's why when I score horror films, I want to score. What I really want to score is an action film, so I can do even more of that, rhythmic stuff, But that's. I guess you could say it comes naturally to me. But, I just love that stuff.
Well, that makes sense. If you were surrounded by that growing up, that would be part of what's ingrained to you as a musician. I think it's fascinating, and I may also have spent a number of hours being escorted to the principal's office for using my craft on the school desk, or not realizing I was tapping my foot on the tile floor and disrupting class. I'm not going to say that didn't happen. But you got to work with Michael Ironside on this, and he's just got that kind of voice that I almost want to sample him and make him an instrument in and of himself, because he's just got that real, deep, thick voice, and he talks so patiently. Do you find as a composer that when you're working with talented actors, it makes your job easier, or is it pretty irrelevant to you?
Oh, it definitely helps with good actors. It makes it easier for sure, but because it's not distracting. When somebody on screen and it's they're not very good actors, it's a little bit distracting sometimes.
Yeah.
But I try not to let that get to me too much. But as far as Michael Ironside, he's such a great, he's such a great actor. I mean, he's just so good, and it almost makes me nervous for his scene, because I'm like, okay, I gotta do this really well, because I don't want to be the one who botched the scene. It's like, right. Oh my gosh, Michael Ironside is so great, but the music doesn't work in that. That would be my worst nightmare.
Sure. But I think that's it. And I don't know if a lot of people realize the actual responsibility of a film composer is not just about writing the music. It's, where do you need to carry the scene? Where do you need to back off a little bit because the actor is doing such a good job and you don't really need to overemphasize what their emotion or their point is. I mean, it's really a much bigger challenge than just writing music that fits a film or if the director likes industrial music, just giving him industrial music. There's so much more involved.
Yeah, definitely. Because a lot of with the trouble with some of the early movies I worked on, some of them were kind of on the lower budget area where a lot of times they want wall-to-wall music to the movie, and sometimes you look at it and it's like, well, it doesn't really work. It's too much music, but they need that wall-to-wall music to to carry the movie along, so to speak. But the biggest challenge with composers, I think, is to not score a scene, mm-hmm. and to know when to do that.
Yes. Yes.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah, you have to know when to breathe. And what you don't do is equally as important as what you do. Exactly. Well, let's take a listen to a piece from there called The Invisible... Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the one. Let's... If I look at my notes properly, let's take a look at a piece, listen, I should say, to a piece from Patient 7. This is an exposition scene with Michael Ironside, and this is kind of the music that I was talking about, where you've got this nice hypnotic percussive thing going. You've got a little bit of high-pitched plucking in there that just kind of keeps that element of suspense and some piano. It's just got such a nice flow to it. This is the kind of stuff that when I think of your name and I think about your music, this is what I associate it with. Okay, so that was the exposition scene. Uh, was that one of the ones that do you recall anything specific about that? Is there any anecdote or anything on that one?
Oh, well, without giving away too much of the scene, I think this is the turning point of the movie, if I remember it correctly. But yeah, I mean, I can't really talk too much about it. That if somebody has not seen the movie yet, I don't want to ruin the movie for them. But
right.
I think, I think it's one of the scenes where his character talks, and you don't want to put too much music underneath, but at the same time you want to underline his emotion at the same time, and then producers want certain type of colors, so to speak, and and that's I think that's how that scene came about, and the music came about. It's, I mean, you don't want to overpower what he's talking about, and kind of have to stay in the background at the same time, but still keep it exciting because something exciting was happening.
Sure.
And things that he said. So that was one of my favorite cues in the movie.
Yeah, it was definitely at a good spot, and I really like this piece. Do you now with this one? Did you get a chance to go on the set and see things in the room and kind of feel the energy of the room, or do you like to just get the film and do your thing?
I think at the time I was in when the movie was shot, I was deep in another project, so I wasn't able to see the set and everything. But I tune in every day during the shoot, so I was able to get the feel of what it's like being there,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I created the score, I already had my own imagination was already going. So and then from watching Ironside from various different movies, I know his style of acting, if I can say that, so it's it's a combination of those things in my head, that helped me with creating the score.
Absolutely. And do you now? This one was shot very fast. Your husband directed it, and what he say? It was 10 days or 2 weeks.
He did not have that luxury in this movie. He was given 4 days to shoot the movie.
4 days. Yeah, I knew it was something ridiculous.
4 days. Yeah. 4 days. I think originally he thought he was going to shoot it in 6 days, and then he was given 4 days, and I'm not sure if they compromised and it became 5 days, but I know it was something short like that. I know it's not more than 5 days.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. And he did a great job with it, because I think the film is fantastic. It looks great. It doesn't seem to be lacking anything. And to have to, for the actors to have to shoot that fast, for location, wardrobe, all that to come together, that's somebody really buckling down and just making it happen. Yeah,
and I heard it's very stressful, but as with every movie, it doesn't matter how even if you have 2 weeks, it'll still be stressful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But cramming it into that amount of time is that's insane.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Did you have, as a guitar player, any specific guitarists that were really inspirational to you or that you learned from, or was it just kind of whatever you heard you kind of put your ear to?
Are you talking about guitar influences, guitarists?
Yes.
Guitar players influences? Mm-hmm. Well, as a kid, I listened to all these things I was supposed to listen to, including stealing, my older brother's tapes and CDs, and sneaking out of his room, borrowing his, CDs that I wasn't supposed to listen to, and but as a kid, some of these some of these musicians actually scared me. I mean, I remember being scared of seeing the poster of Duran Duran because I thought they were scary, and they were one of my early influences, Duran Duran and Iron Maiden, a lot of these British bands that I love so much, and these guitarists in these bands, they influenced me a lot.
Was that kind of music taboo in Indonesia?
Definitely, yes. I mean, and it's unheard of for a girl to want to listen to that stuff. I did not know, another girl that would be interested in that kind of stuff. So I was pretty much the only one.
Well, sometimes that kind of isolating can be good because then you can just get on and learn it and not be distracted by other things. But at the same point, it probably feels kind of lonely because you don't have anyone to play with or talk to about it.
Yeah, and I mean, trying to talk to another boy, it's about that stuff. They wouldn't give you time of day. They don't want to talk to you about that. They want to talk to another boy
right.
about Iron Maiden. They don't want to talk to a little girl about that,
Well, yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit because we talked about that before the show, and this question had been sparked by a post that you had made about somebody who didn't take you seriously as a guitarist because you're, obviously a very beautiful woman. And why would you be able to play guitar? Because you're beautiful, right? You're just supposed to sit there and try on outfits and do different makeup styles and things. Why is it that women aren't taken as seriously as musicians, or a lot of them kind of have to use sexuality to get their foot in the door?
I really don't know. I mean, I never really, when I started in the music business, I never thought about it that way. I would just think, I don't think of ability as gender based. Ability is ability. Whatever it is that you can do and you can do well, you should do it, and nothing should stop you from doing it, and including naysayers. You should always have the attitude of that your ability to do something well will speak for itself. So I think I've always kept it, irrelevant, where if somebody does not support me based on whatever it is that they think their opinion should be based, I never would let that stop me.
Good.
And I would just always think that, people should be able to judge based on, what they see, what I'm able to do,
Yeah, I agree. I find it difficult to understand why it started in the first place, but more so why it still exists today. I mean, we're about to head into 2019 and we still have people thinking things like, well, you're a pretty girl, you can't play guitar. And they're not even related. I mean, in the industry where it matters would be if you're an actor and you're playing a role where you're pregnant or you're, something like that a guy obviously cannot do, or vice versa. Then it kind of makes sense. And when you're telling the story, you have certain people that represent life that portray that. But when it comes to music or any of the other arts, whether you're a painter or a novelist, it just seems to me like that shouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I really think, no matter what, for as long as we exist, I think there will always be that type of discrimination. I don't know. I think it's just the way that the human mind is designed to do. I don't know. I don't really spend too much time thinking about it, but I don't know. I don't know the solution to that. I don't have the solution to that. I don't know. I can't even speculate why. I don't know why that is.
Well, obviously you've not let it hold you back, and I'm glad for that. And your talent certainly speaks for itself. I mean, if anybody just spends 4 or 5 seconds listening to you, they're going to see that you know what you're doing. You're not holding back playing chords because you don't want to break a nail. You're going to play that chord.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, let's play another track from Patient Seven, and here's another one that really I think plays up the emotion of the character, and like you said, for those who haven't seen it, I don't want to give anything away about the scene, but I will say that this piece of music plays very well into what's going on screen and what's happening with one of the main characters. The clip, as you've given it to me, is called 305-288-209, and let's go ahead and play that one now.
All right, JD, I am Dr. Marcus.
What are you doing?
I'm recording you. Do you have a problem with that?
Like I have a choice? Can you put that away, please? Please.
Is there a problem? Oh my God, the charts are right on. You do have a problem with plastic wrap.
Can you put that away, please?
Here. All right. Look. I'm wrapping it up, putting it away.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that was another great track from Patient 7. That one is available on Amazon, and I'm sure, is it available anywhere else at the moment?
I want to say, it's on Amazon Prime, and I guess maybe on Hulu. It's in many platforms out there. I know it was on Hulu at one point. It was on Netflix, I think, for a period of time, and I think you could find it pretty much on any live streaming site.
I would highly recommend this film for anybody who's a fan of horror or suspense movies. It's a great film. Anybody, obviously, who's a fan of Michael Ironside, if you haven't seen it already, watch this movie. But really, this movie, knowing now what you know about it, how quickly and tight it was shot and put together, it's a great lesson for filmmakers, I think, to see what you can really do if you just buckle down and get to work and stop bitching and moaning about what's not right. Just, fist to the stone and get it done. But it's also just a great movie. Obviously, it's a great score. I love it. And I'm not saying that because you're on the show. The first time I saw the movie and listened to it, I thought, wow, you really created something special here. But do you find now, because we work so much on the digital side, that it's really hard to get one soundtrack not to sound like another? Do you mix it a little differently, or do you EQ it differently to kind of give each soundtrack its own personality?
Definitely all the music, it starts to sound the same now, and you really have to, try really hard to make your own sound really unique. And I think the most important thing is to create, in a movie, to create a unified sound and to have that theme going at all times, to know that, okay, this belongs to the same movie. If you listen to one cue and then you listen to another cue from the same movie, it's from the same movie. Right. And not from, this sounds just like so-and-so's cue from some other movie,
Yeah.
Which, it happens a lot now these days because everybody, whether or not they influence each other or they, use the same software or anything like that. But I think what's more important is to create that theme for a film that, and consistently use the same instrumentation in one movie, and not just be all over the place about it and start to sound like every other score.
Yeah, I agree. And, you think back to bands like Iron Maiden, who every album sounded a little bit different. Each album had its own personality to it, from the way it was recorded to the EQ to the compression. But when you hear a song, if you know the band well enough, you know which album it came from. And now I might have 3 or 4 different soundtracks from a film composer on my iPod, and when a piece comes on, I don't know what film it's from because it just sonically it sounds like every other film.
Right. That's the thing with a lot of and new composers. Do you listen to a lot of them, and they sound just like everybody else? They sound like each other.
Yeah. Because
they don't have that unique, or maybe they haven't found their. I have not found my sound yet. I have to say, but it's hard sometimes. You're given a task to complete a movie, and like, okay, you only have 2 weeks. How do you sound? How do you have a unique sound?
Right. And it's a kind of a fine line between having your own style and also writing what the film dictates you write. What it says to you.
Right, exactly. Because the producers and the directors will have their own idea of what something should sound like.
Right.
And sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes it's not helpful at all, because then you are you're pigeonholed into doing this this score according to what they want, and then you forget to be creative about it, and then it makes it more difficult to come up with something good.
Absolutely, I think you nailed it right there. I want to play a piece that you sent over, and I'm so glad you sent this one, called Lonely Space. And this is one of those pieces of music that, when you work in film, you have to do a lot of music that's patient, because you're really not designed to be heard as much as you are felt. And a lot of times the music needs to be kind of drawn out and a little more patient and not very active. But I understand that there's an interesting story that goes along with this one.
Yes. So this is one of those experiences when you work with people in Hollywood. You feel sometimes you get a job and you feel great about it, and the person you just met really felt that you were the right person for the project. And this one in particular, I met this first-time director that was working on a movie with a producer friend of mine, who the producer pushed me to score this film. And it wasn't part of the deal that I would be scoring this film, but it was one of those unsaid things, but understood, thing where, okay, you're a first-time director, hire my composer to do your film. And I was really led to believe that I got the job. I traveled to LA because at the time I already lived in Las Vegas. So I traveled many times, to meet with this director, and he asked me to create this. He gave me specification. Okay, I want this piece of music to be this way for my film. This way. So I spent the time to create. This is one of the pieces that I created. And then after it's all said and done, he left me a message on the phone that he would go with somebody else to work on his film.
Oh.
And it's just one of those things where, oh, okay.
Right.
So it happens. It happens.
It does.
But you would think that people would have the decency to not do that, no matter who they are.
Sure.
But it's lesson learned for sure.
Especially when the producer has recommended you, and it's not just like, you're somebody that he ran into at an event. I mean, this was a direct suggestion from a producer who as a director, that's the one person you do have to listen to. It's fine if he just didn't connect with the music, but certainly you don't want to get a reputation, and you don't want to start screwing over producers on your first film. Right.
Well, needless to say, this director was never called back for any other job by the same producer. So, so that's, but sometimes, people have their they're highly confident in that, even though this is their first film, then they will be working forever in Hollywood, even after that. And some people have managed to do that, But it's just not good, to me, it's just not good practice to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always best to be transparent with people.
Sure.
So.
Well, I think that's the difference, and like we were saying before, people can't be bothered to communicate. People can't be bothered to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to meet this deadline, or I've ran into this challenge. And we really kind of live in a world right now where people just hide behind the types of communication that we have. And certainly that's not going to give trust for somebody to hire you for another project. That's for sure. But let's go ahead and play the piece, because whether he liked it or she liked it or not, it's a beautiful piece of music and it deserves to be enjoyed. And so here is Lonely Space. Yeah, I just love that piece, and that's another one that really shows what it takes to be a film composer. It's not like rock, where rock has to be exciting and dramatic. This world of film music a lot of times just really has to lay back and be patient and do slower builds and really know how to back up a scene instead of run it. Unless, like you said, you want to do an action movie. In an action movie, a lot of times the music does drive the visual. So it really depends on the style of film. But yeah, I just love this piece, and I'm so glad that you sent this one over. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned that you played in the Blue Man Group, and obviously I've seen you perform in the Blue Man Group here in Vegas after you guys had moved back from the Monte Carlo to the Luxor. What is it like? What is the reality of being in a show like that, where it changes from time to time, but pretty much you're doing the same thing 2 times a night, 5 nights a week? And does it get old? Do you kind of lose your passion for it every once in a while, or do you find that just the exhilaration of doing it every day is enough to keep it going?
Well, that's what I thought in the beginning too. What am I going to do? We were playing the same music every night, But as it turns out, every time you showed up to work, you play with different people every night. They rotate in a certain way so that you don't play with the same people every night. It's the same configuration. Mm-hmm. So, and then the show is very spontaneous in a sense, because you just never know. I mean, even though we have to follow a template and a certain guideline with the show, every night is always different experience, different reaction from the audience, different. All of those little things that happen during the show, it creates a completely different experience every night. Now, even though you're supposed to play the same thing, but playing with different people, you feed off different people differently.
Sure.
If you play with certain drummer, one night, and then the next night you play with a different drummer, you're going to feed off a different energy. And then everybody comes into work every day with, of course, a different, frame of mind, different emotion. So it all, brings in, different things that give you different experience every night. So, it was definitely fun to do that, and playing music is always fun anyway. So,
oh yeah, that's why we do
yeah,
it.
it's never the same experience every night,
That's good. I mean, if it can stay fresh, and that certainly is probably one of the shows that would be a rarity to get that, because a lot of the shows, it is the same people, exactly the same every night, except for your time that you have your backup person come in and play, or you can't make it. But that particular show, because you guys do have so many musicians, would allow for that. And then I would imagine coupling that with doing things like the shows with the set list or doing film scoring would probably keep it fresh, because you are doing other things than just that set every night.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't do Brewman every night, so it's it's all these other projects that I'm keeping myself busy on that make it that makes it really fun for me, with the film score, and I played for different shows and different one-off projects here and there, just playing around town. It's just that keeps this whole thing interesting,
Yeah, that's good. And having, like, for me, I typically have 3 or 4 projects going at a time. So when I kind of don't feel like working on one, or I feel like I really need to take a step back and think about what I want to do before I do it, I have another one I can jump on, and it definitely helps. Now, you also toured with Criss Angel, is that right?
That's correct. He has a show called The Supernaturalist, where he's still the main guy in the show, but he also has 9 other magicians, come on the show, and he wanted a one musician band that does all the music on stage. So he, I came to see him in audition, and he really liked what I did, and then he put me on this. Where I was the only member of the band, and I control Ableton for the majority of the music, and then I played guitar on top of that. And he wanted me to be seen on stage, so I was put in the balcony where the audience could see me, and I would play solo over the music that I control, while the magicians do their thing on stage. So it was a really fun, great experience, and nerve-wracking at the same time, because you cannot make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because the musicians rely heavily on the music and on you to play the right cue, and then at the same time you have to play solo over the cue that you just controlled.
Right, and that is part of the distraction for the illusion is music, and that's one of the tricks that they use. And then they use, obviously, whoever else is on stage to kind of divert attention from whatever they're doing, or they divert from whatever the assistant is doing to set up the illusion. Did you feel kind of like you were, since you were the only musician on stage and you didn't have that camaraderie with other musicians, did you kind of feel like you were a bit of a spectacle out there?
Oh, yes, definitely, because when you play in a band, it's great. You have other people to feed off of, when you play the music, but this is just you, and then you alone on the balcony, you're seen, and it feels pretty nerve-wracking, pretty bad up there, for sure.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, but I managed to have a lot of fun doing it, even though it's very stressful at times.
Did you enjoy touring?
Yes and no. I know, but I used to love touring a lot. I mean, I toured Europe with a band called all shred female band called Sam Blue, and I went on tour a lot with the Iron Maidens, which I co-founded the band along with 4 other girls. That was a lot of fun. I like touring, and I did like touring with the Criss Angel show. But at the same time, you get that, homesick feeling.
Yeah.
You felt uprooted a lot of times. Touring has its own, great fun, but at the same time, I'm also a studio rat. I like being holed up in my studio.
Before we wrap up, I got a couple more pieces of yours to play that I want to share with the audience, and I really loved. Let's talk a little bit about the song "Invisible" from the Invisible Chronicles. I thought this was really just beautiful and haunting at the same time. What was your intent with this piece, if you recall?
Oh, yeah, that piece I created probably, roughly about 10 years ago. Because the movie, I think, was released in 2009 under Weekend Entertainment. This movie is, the movie is based on the novel by H.G. Wells. It's it's a very, I wanted to create something emotional because the main character suffered a lot in the movie, and if I recall it correctly, the opening scene, which this cue was intended for, he was doing a lot of experimentation with different chemical substance to make himself invisible, and out of pain that he experienced in his life. So I wanted the cue to be emotional in that sense. So I think that's why I've made the opening scene that way.
Well, I think it definitely sets a good tone, and if that was the intent, with that being the story, I would say you nailed it, because the feeling that I got from it was exactly that.
Yeah, and then there's something evil that's coming about afterwards. That's why I think the music, goes into this ominous feel at the end of it, and then it kind of cycles back, and then because the main character, I think he goes back and forth from like, I'm feeling this pain, but also I want revenge.
Right. So. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing when you take the film away from film music and you just listen to it on its own. It really, the context of it is completely lost, but you can still capture what the feeling was meant to be and the kind of thing that might have been going on screen just by the emotion of it. And I think personally, I like detaching it from the film and just appreciating the work of the music on its own.
Yeah, it's fun to listen to it that way, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is Invisible by Jojo Draven. Okay, Jojo, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I got one more piece of yours that you sent over that I do want to include, and let me know if I'm not pronouncing this right. Is it Bagua Mirror?
That's correct. I think that's how you said, yeah.
I'm glad I didn't butcher your music. Now this one has a completely different flavor. This is very, very ethnic, and I really love the blend of the different instruments that you brought into this one. What can you tell us about this piece?
Well, this is a movie that my husband directed this film. He wanted to, do something ethnic, and, he wanted to use a lot of Asian instrumentation. And I probably watched one too many kung fu movies when I was little, and I always loved the music. So, this was great for me because I actually had the chance to, put that to good use. My knowledge on this instrumentation. So that was fun for me to create this one.
Yeah, and it's very nice. I love the music from some of those movies, and I was a big Bruce Lee fan growing up as a martial artist, and I really loved the score for it was called Return of the Dragon, and it just had this really interesting choral quality to it, along with this really nice moving percussion, almost military snare. But yeah, that was one that definitely sticks out for me. But let's take a listen to it. This is Bagua Muir. Well, Jojo, I cannot thank you enough for taking some time. I know that you're just getting started on a new film score, so thanks for squeezing this in before it gets too intense. And definitely looking forward to hearing that and looking forward to the next setlist gig. Guys, if you're in Vegas, keep an eye out for when they're playing. They are great fun to watch. They usually play at the House of Blues, but they've been seen other places too, like you played at the Brooklyn Bowl, you played at Hard Rock, I think you did a show there. And but great fun. The camaraderie on stage is worth the ticket. Even if you don't like the album, go see it. It's just going to be a good time. But any advice that you have for young musicians that want to get into doing shows or doing tours?
Just plod along, keep doing it. Don't give up. Just giving up, you won't get anywhere if you give up.
Yeah.
But just keep doing what you're doing.
Excellent. I like it. Well, thank you, Jojo. Best of luck with the new score, and come back and see us again.
Thank you so much, Scott. It was a pleasure.
You too. Bye-bye. Well, that was a lot of fun, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed talking to JoJo. She's just one of those people who's got a great talent, but it's also just a very, very sweet and wonderful person to talk to. Again, I'd like to remind everybody to go ahead and leave a star rating, or if you'd like a written review, especially on iTunes, that would be great. I think you can also do it on Spotify. You can put comments in different places too, I think on Podbean. I am going to do one more special Saturday episode for my Haunted Holidays Deadly Christmas 2 album. Then I'll take a break from doing those, and then we'll be back with our regularly scheduled Wednesday show. Have a great week, everybody.